Hello. I've had a hankering for more Dark Souls. You know why? Because I love them. Somewhere in the brutality of overcoming immense challenge, I find peace and calm. Or I might just be the biggest masochist there is. Who knows? The two most popular videos on this channel are my destroying Dark Souls 3 and 1 videos. Both these videos were made as a way to show my mastery over the games, but also showing that with a little bit of knowledge that these games weren't as hard as they've been made out to be. I mean, you do still get brutally murdered with sticks in both, but you can become just as strong as the bosses if you know how to. However, since making my Elden Ring video in the same series, I feel like I've been on fraud watch. You see, when I made that video, I'd only completed Elden Ring twice, and that was within the first month or so of the game coming out. The small mastery I had over this game was conveniently patched out by the secret government, resulting in a video that, if I'm being honest, did not even come close to showing mastery over the game. So I pondered, what would be a good way to show that mastery? I could just remake the video with the new knowledge I've acquired since, but past the initial setup, I feel like it would just be the exact same video. During my musing, came across inspiration. Soul Level 1. Ultimate challenge for Souls-like gamers. Soul Level 1 is simple. Simply pick the starting class that is level 1 and then never level up the entire playthrough. This means that for the entire playthrough, you have to dig deep. To start with, late game bosses essentially always one-shot you, meaning you have to beat the boss without getting hit, right? Pretty difficult already. But then, because of the level restriction, you're limited to a fraction of the possible builds that the game offers. Due to the less open-ended nature of previous Souls games, Soul Level 1 can be pretty tricky. Without using strategies like killing the dancer early in Dark Souls 3, it's pretty hard to max out weapons and get extra stats from items early on, which can make runs be decently brutal to get going. However, Elden Ring is open world. This allows Soul Level 1 runs to flaunt absolute creativity throughout the run. This open-endedness allows us to make some pretty overpowered builds even at level 1. The game also gives us many consumable options for boosting damage, and the Ash of War system lets us use some buffs that we might otherwise not have the stats for. This means that you can actually make some builds that even at level 1 can one-shot bosses. I also have some self-imposed rules. Number 1, no Spirit Ashes. Simply because they're a bit cringe. Number 2, I have to kill all Remembrance Bosses, including that one boss with rotting toes. So, without further ado, time to start my torture. But first, I need to do some shilling. A wild 95% of viewers on my channel are in fact not subscribed. I enjoy making these videos a lot, so if you like what you see and want me to make more content on a more frequent basis, make sure to subscribe. Please, I'm begging. First thing you might notice is the incredibly handsome, chiseled, dripped out lad on the top right with the death count. It's because I decided to stream the playthrough for the sake of documentation, a decision that I totally wouldn't go back on later on. The death counter, it's kind of self-explanatory. I should note, this is maybe the third or fourth time I've attempted to beat this game. So the main bosses I've actually only killed 3 times. However, all the optional Remembrance Bosses I've maybe only killed once. And in a case of the few of them, I've never actually stepped into the same area as the boss. Essentially, I'm going into this run with next to no practice. So, Soul Level 1. In Elden Ring, the only class that starts at Soul Level 1 is the Wretch. We name ourselves Soul Level 1 Guna in solidarity with our patriots. And take the Cracked Pot for our keepsake. Cracked Pot is honestly the most important item in Soul Level 1. The Cracked Pot allows us to craft the throwable pots that can apply poison, frostbite, fire, and most importantly, sleep. And we plan to sleep some dudes, so we need as many as we can get. Immediately after starting the game, the setup begins. For a large portion of the game, there is one weapon that absolutely trumps every other weapon for Soul Level 1, and this weapon is the Serpent Hunter. This great spear is very strong in level 1. It's upgraded by somber smithing stones, which means we can get it to plus 10 before killing Morgott in Lindell. The heavy charge attacks on this weapon also deal huge amounts of stagger damage, meaning we can get easy riposts on bosses within 3 to 5 hits. Most importantly, it doesn't require any stats to equip. The weapon is intended to be used to fight Rykard as a special boss fight, so because of this, there's 0 requirements to equip the weapon, so any build can actually beat the fight. The best strategy for most bosses is buffing damage on the Servant Hunter as much as possible. So there's a long laundry list of stuff to collect. The first up, Mistwood Ruins. Here, there's a bear sitting on some Trinna's lilies, which are needed for the sleep pots. More importantly, we grab the Axe Talisman. This boosts our charged heavy attacks by a lot. While here, we also stop at the Minor Erd Tree and grab the spiked crystal tier that does the exact same thing. The great thing is, these 2 effects stack. Obviously, the next talisman we grab is essential for any strength build. Radagon Sword Seal. Plus 5 levels in health, stamina, strength, and dexterity at the cost of taking slightly more damage. Then, we beat the crap out of this horsebound soldier for the Golden Vow Ash of War. Golden Vow spell is a great aura buff that is mostly used for the 15% damage buff. However, in Soul Level 1, getting the 25 faith requirement to cast it isn't really worth it. Golden Vow, the Ash of War, can be attached to a dagger and used without any stats. It's not as strong as the actual spell, but the 11.5% damage buff isn't something to turn your nose up at. We grab the Ice Ryan Hatchet, which we need for a little strategy later on. Then, it's down to Jarberg to grab some more cracked pots.
Hi.
Now, to actually get the Serpent Hunter, we need to fight my worst nemesis. The boss that turned me into a schizophrenic. Absolute rotund unit that has caused me pain. Godskin Apostle. Before fighting this boss, I need to be as strong as possible. The strat to fight this boss in Soul Level 1 is to just sleep him with the sleep potions, and then hit it with some charged heavy attacks and get an easy riposte. Unfortunately, there's only roughly 30 to 40 Trinna's lilies that are in the area accessible to us at this point, and they don't respawn. Ever. This means we have limited amount of tries on killing the fat bastard. Each attempt can take anywhere between 8 to 12 sleep potions, so if you mess up lots, you only get around 3 or 4 attempts before you have to basically restart this run. So, there's 2 bosses we need to kill first to ensure we're strong enough. First boss being Margit, simply because killing him gives us an extra talisman slot, allowing us to equip both the Sword Seal and the Axe Talisman. Oh my god. That's embarrassing. Margit. 5 attempts. And, after collecting some more cracked pots, big. It was time to do Peter's dirty work. Nice. Red Wolf of Radagon. 2 attempts. Now, we're here to grab the Lazuli Glintstone Crown. This lovely headpiece increases our dexterity and intelligence by 3, cost of some health. Why do we need this exactly? Well, without using the dexterity knot on our flask, which only lasts 3 minutes, we actually don't have the stats to use the Ice Round Hatchet. The crown boosts up dexterity just enough that we can use it, so on the off chance that the fight with Tubbs goes longer than 3 minutes, I won't be cocked. It also just means we get extra damage, which is pretty cool. So, with a +4 Ice Round Hatchet in hand, sleep pots hanging off the belt, butt flapping around, I step into the accursed chapel. Let's get this fucking guy. Let's skin a possum. 2 attempts. With the absolute rotund unit dead, I could collect my prize. While here, we also grabbed the +7 Somber Smithing Stone. Yes, this is the one that I just couldn't glitch my way into in the last Elden Ring video. Now, I can go and upgrade the Serpent Hunter to a peachy +9. Keen of Hearing would remember approximately 5 minutes ago that I said we can get this weapon to +10 before killing Morgoth. However, before we get that sweet +10, there's some other setup that we have to do. Mog, Lord of Blood. When he transitions to the second phase, he bleeds you 3 times in a row. Without a certain talisman setup, this mechanic can just straight up kill you on soul level 1. So, to protect ourselves from the Lord of Blood, Mog, we need to grab the Purifying Crystal Tear. This essentially just stops us from taking damage when Lord of Mog, Blood, does his phase transition. So, we kill this invader in Limgrave, talk to this cool guy, then help him kill this invader. We talk to the cool guy again, and then he gets murdered. In honor of cool guy, we now kill this invader by perfectly legit means, giving us Purifying Crystal Tear. Now with that setup out the way, we can get that juicy +10. You remember the guy at the start of the game, first steps that calls you maidenless? Yeah, he's the way we get +10. To start his questline, we actually need to beat one of the shard bearers, so he moves on to the church in Nahyeahnah. So, time to fight the man on his graft and grind set. Let's try it, or I'm smelly and stupid, you know? Yeah, hitboxes. It's just that easy. This game is easy. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Godric the Grafted. 1 attempt. After talking to Vare at his church, we can go to fight to complete the next step of the quest. Locked in. I locked in! Returning to Vare, he sets us off to grab some blood off a maiden. So, we sprint up through the Madness Village, get invaded by the OG MC. Before he stabs us, we steal a pint from his maiden's lifeless corpse. Giving this sick and twisted man some maiden's blood inducts us into the Pure Blood Knights, which gives us a handy teleport into Mogwood Palace, which has our long-awaited +10 Somber Smithing Stone. Immense.
I'm Michael Jordan. Stop it. Get some help.
At this point, the main setup was finished, so I could move on to fighting the Remembrance Bosses. I tossed up between doing the logical thing and fighting Renala, and doing the insane thing and fighting Radahn. The viewers in chat graciously decided for me that I should fight Radahn. However, before I went down into the desert sands, I needed to talk to the 4-armed moon girl. So, time to fight a horseman. Save. Big. Royal Knight Loretta. 1 attempt. Yeah, baby! I didn't get to touch on this in the last Elden Ring video, but God is the lead up to Radahn, cool as hell. At class, pipe down. Pipe down for the greatest piece of literature. After getting smacked around a few times. Oh my god, I did it again. I kicked the idea of fighting Radahn in the head, so I actually went back and fought Renala. This is the nature of the game.
You picked the wrong house, fool!
Big. that still counts as a kill, right? Did the boss still die? Yes. Hey. Easy clap. Renala. 1 attempt. Killing a second shard bearer gives us another talisman slot, and I have something in mind for that spot. So after quickly killing demi-human queen Galika, I grabbed the Ritual Swords talisman. While at full health, this talisman boosts attack power by 10%. Because we don't intend to get hit, this will always just give us an extra 10% attack power boost. After giving the viewers a quick little avian fans leak, it was time to head into the capital. Absolutely sleet the Draconic Tree Sentinel. Before we go and fight Morgoth, we need to grab a flask upgrade to help out with future bosses. So, we killed this Erdtree avatar, which gives us the Opaline Bubble Tear. This basically negates almost all of the damage from a single hit. Essentially, if we get hit by a boss past the mid-game, we don't just get one shot. Now, back to the capital. Time to fight the ghost version of Godfrey.
What the heck?
Walking in.
Oh dear! Fuck!
Godfrey, the First Lord. 2 attempts. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the first no-hit boss attempt of this run. That's right. It's Morgoth time. Now, the rules for this run clearly stated, no Spirit Ashes. That means every other item in this game is on the table to use, so I'm gonna goddamn use them. Down in Limgrave, I give a smacking to Patches, turning him to a stoner. Patches sells this lovely little item called Margot's Shackle. It's usually used in the Margot boss fight to briefly stun him in the first phase, but because of some weird crossover of boss IDs, this can actually also be used on Morgoth, and used it was.
Point and laugh. It's the funny number.
Don't do it! Now that's a lot of damage! Come on over here!
That's pretty good.
Done it.
Morgoth. 13 attempts. And another no-hit boss kill. Before heading into the mountaintop of the giants, I'd need to go down into the Landell sewers and find the turtles. One of the remembrances is from Lich Dragon Fortisax, who resides in the Deeproot Depths. At this point, I was under the impression that you have to have this boss at least accessible before burning the Erdtree, otherwise you get wiped out of it. So I decided now was as good a time as any to get that set up before I go and fight the Fire Giant. Now, there's 2 ways you can get down to the Deeproot Depths. Either by killing the Twin Gargoyle boss, the Shifra Aqueduct, which I think at level 1 would be a fucking nightmare, or by going through these hellish sewers and fighting Mog, the Omen. You can guess which one I chose. Much like his brother, Morgoth, Mog also has a shackle, so you best believe I'm using it. Big. Mog the Omen, 7 attempts. Now, remember earlier how I said I haven't been to some locations in this game? Well, the Deeproot Depths is one of them. I really wanted to admire the beauty of this place. But Unfortunately, having to fight the gang squad ruined it for me. A few attempts in, I decided I want to pump out a little more damage. So I went back to the mountaintops and acquired the Nahyeahnah mask from this invader by totally legit means. This is essentially an upgrade on the crown, increasing our dexterity by 3, but lowering focus instead of health. Back to the boss.
With an extra roll. I don't think it makes you faster, it just makes your roll go further. It's good.
Fears Champions. 18 attempts. To actually access this boss, we'd now have to partially complete Rani's questline, so it's back to the desert sands to fight Rune. Now let me tell you, as much as I was gushing over the theme and the setup for this fight earlier, it is fucking miserable on Soul Level 1. So, as intended by the lords of From Software, after many attempts made, I use the summons in the boss room. Yeah, fucking cry about it. I said no ash, not summons. We're done. 21 attempts. After taking down the realest person I know,
7 kill.
I grabbed the Finger Slayer blade, traded to Rani for her rare carrion inverted statue, and then quickly made my way up through the inverted carrion tower to grab the cursed mark of death. Giving this to Fear then sets up the fight with Fortis Axe. But screw doing that right now. Time for even more setup. We need to grab both the red feathered bronze sword talisman and the twin bird kite shield. Both these items increase attack power when health is low. Any fight that I can comfortably not get hit in, these two items are going to be in the setup. Both these items drop from death birds, which can be easily cheesed by using holy water pots and just fucking chucking them out their heads. With that setup, ready for a later boss, it was now finally time to go to the mountaintop of the giants to fight one of my least favorite bosses, the fire giant.
Let's get this fucking
After one too many attempts, I had to dig real deep. I replaced the bubble tier, the spiked crystal tier, popped a rune art, and then Fire Giant, 38 attempts. And welcome to the no hit boss kill club. Piece of shit. Time for more setup. For some of the later bosses, the window to get charged heavy attacks in the Serpent Hunter is either super tight or just not really possible. So I want to use the Uchigatana for how goddamn strong Unsheath is. Combined with a shard of Alexander Talisman, the heavy Unsheath does so good damage. It's tons of stagger. So unfortunately, I have to put down a great warrior. Alexander was yummy insides. After I grabbed some extra Trina's lilies, chucked on the red feathered bronze sword talisman and the twin bird kite shield from earlier, and got ready to stomp some fucking nerds. Godskin Duo, 2 attempts, and in the no-hit club. The Godskin Duo drop a miner's bell that lets us buy absolutely all the smithing stone upgrades that we need to max out regular smithing stone weapons, which I have of course used for the Uchigatana. Complete the setup for the Uchigatana, finally put to rest Alexander, which I'm immediately going to use against Mog, Lord of Blood.
Oh my god. Alright.
Let me tell you now, by all means, this fight should not be too hard, and yet, I'm struggling. I'm struggling real bad. Mog is one of those Remembrance bosses that I've only killed once before this playthrough. That was on my first save, post-killing the Elden Beast, when I was doing my obligatory tour of the world and finishing off anything I didn't find initially. So, yeah. No practice combined with a second phase that has annoying hitboxes just spells out embarrassing defeat. Halfway through the attempts, I realized I could be stacking an extra 10 dexterity through talismans, so I quickly did Millicent's questline by totally legitimate means. I was back to banging my head against Mog. After some attempts, I tried switching to a build designed to skip the phase transition. However, I was limited in attempts because I couldn't access the respawning crafting materials for frost pots. And unsurprisingly, I messed that up too. At this point, my frustration with this boss was starting to negatively impact both my gameplay and the stream vibes. So, I swiftly kicked the idea of killing him right now in the head, and ventured back into Volcano Manor to fight the slithery little snake. Record, Lord of Blasphemy. 18 attempts. Finally, a W. I was beginning to get to the point in the game where bosses were becoming extremely unforgiving. I'm sure with some actual practice this wouldn't be the case, but I'm telling you now, I'm the dumbest penguin you've ever seen. I decided now would be a good time to start finishing up Rani's questline, because she too has a Remembrance boss waiting for me at the end of it. We put Rani in a jar, kill the Baleful Shadow, and then cross everyone's favourite level type into the coffin. And now, my initial strat for this fight was to just charge heavy attack with the Serpent Hunter. However, I have a similar gripe with this boss as I do with the Fire Giant. He too goddamn big! After a few attempts, I decided to leave Astel for a bit and chase some other bosses and setups. So, after lighting up some bonfires, it was time to fight the Moose Man.
Why are you running?
Apparently it doesn't matter that I don't have full claws.
Regal Ancestor Spirit. 6 attempts. Time for more boss setup. The next boss along the main progression path is Malekith. The second phase has only a few openings for us currently, but there is one item that fully opens him up to be absolutely owned, so we're gonna go get it. We run to this point in the crumbling Farum Azula and kill Bernal, which gives us the Blasphemous Claw. During the second phase, whenever Malekith's sword flashes yellow on the close-up sword swing, we use the claw to parry him, putting him into a staggered state where he takes it right up the arse. During some downtime between streams, I perused some potential builds that would work going forward for whenever the Serpent Hunter or Uchigatana strats weren't working well. And that strat is just becoming guts berserk. If we grab the Heimer Crown from this idiot, we gain a massive +2 in strength and intelligence at the cost of some FP. However, if we combine this with the Star Scourge heirloom, we have just enough strength to two-hand the greatsword without needing rune arcs or needing to be reliant on the 3-minute window on the strength nut for the physical flask. On top of this, we can add the Lion's Claw Ash of War to the greatsword, which is essentially a very fast charged heavy attack. If we then also pair the Shard of Alexander with this setup, you best believe we're chunking health bars. And I know just the boss to use this setup on. Astel, natural born of the void, 41 attempts. And with that, Ronnie's questline was done.
Butt ass fucking naked.
Now, time for Malakath to drop one of the hardest lines.
I forgot it's a circle.